What's up everybody, Coach Mills here, coming at you with a brand new Valorant video, and in this video we got a lot of crazy things to talk about. First off, we got to talk about the fact that Valorant skins are now pay to lose. You heard me right, a particular skin actually gave you a disadvantage in game, so we're going to break all that down. Then we're going to talk about the fact that Nitro is actually going to be temporarily not able to play on 100 Thieves. Plus, we're going to break down the Pro Player Elo. We're going to talk about all the missing quality of life things that we need in the game, and much more, so make sure you watch to the end. But go to the Game Leap website right now, and the link's down below for in-depth advanced VODs, tips and tricks, map guides, agent courses, and much more. Do yourself a favor, go check it out, the link's down below. But without further ado, let's jump into the video. Now for the first story that we're going to talk about, we got to talk about 100 Thieves Nitro is going to actually be gone from competitive Valorant for a probably substantial period of time. I'm going to roll a clip from Hiko explaining the situation here so you understand what's going on.
January, late January, early February, mid-February. We have a weird thing. I think I can leak it now that Nitro has announced like publicly that his wife is pregnant. I'm pretty sure we might have to use a stand-in or something. I think the baby is due pretty soon, so we might have to play with somebody else for the beginning of the year, and then once his child is born and takes care of his stuff, he'll probably come back. Well, he will come back, but yeah.
Now that's right, Nitro is going to be Papa Nitro, and he's probably not going to be able to play competitively for many months or even longer. And while you should definitely congratulate him, give him some love on Twitter, whatever the case may be, the question that comes to all of us is, okay, who is going to be playing as his fill-in while he's no longer or temporarily not playing on 100 Thieves? Maybe Nadeshot himself will really come into the role and pick up that Omen and dominate for 100 Thieves. No, probably not. But if you have any ideas of who you think would be an actual good fit to fit that Omen slot while Nitro can't play in any of the tournaments, definitely let me know who you would like to see in the comments down below. Now next up, we gotta talk about pay to lose. That's right, there's a skin right now that if you buy, you are actually giving yourself a worse shot of winning, even if it's by an ever so slightly margin, and it's none other than the Wasteland Vandal. Now the thing is, as you can see from these pictures and of course the in-depth pictures of the weapon itself, you can see that the actual Wasteland Vandal's muzzle is longer than every single other muzzle in the game, even if it's by only a little bit. Now Riot Dev actually responded to this on Reddit saying, sorry about that, we caught this right before the winter break and have already fixed it. This fix will be in the next patch. So right now, as is, the weapon in the game until that patch comes through is still giving you a slight competitive disadvantage, where it's possible for the enemy to see you slightly more if your weapon is peeking out, which actually can be relevant in some situations, just letting that enemy see you like right before you swing, for instance. Now this is really not going to affect your games hardly at all, but having a weapon that literally gives you a disadvantage is a new one after the big scandals of those sniper rifles, those op snipers that gave people a big advantage when you could see the entire screen because of how the actual zoom worked. But it actually also is confusing how this weapon even made it through development in the first place. Like, you actually have to increase the size of the weapon, so I don't really understand. I would love it if a developer would explain it to me, because I have no idea how something like this would slip through the cracks. But it's a pretty funny story, and now you have something to blame it on. If you've been getting rolled recently, it's definitely the Wasteland Vandal that you bought the other day. But definitely let me know what you think about that crazy story in the comments down below. Now the next thing that we got to talk about is the Pro Player Elo. We already discussed how players have a literal Elo number or rank number, especially for Radiant players. They actually have a legitimate de facto number, and if you look at this list, this is the Elo of some of the top Radiant pros. Now right off the bat, you're gonna see something kind of strange. A player like Sinatra, who doesn't really play rank that much and is in Radiant, has an Elo of 58, when a player like our boy Tens is at the top of the leaderboard and has an Elo of 638. Now this is just gonna show you just how far a player like Tens is away from the majority of people, even in the Radiant tier. Now that's not saying he's better by any means, but what happens when a player like Tens, who just has an extremely above average win rate, even when he's being stacked up against people tons and tons tons of other Radiants he's just dominating. Same thing with Six, same thing with Asuna, where they're just dominating their games and they're playing a lot. They just keep stacking elo, and what's gonna eventually have to happen is there's gonna have to be some differentiating between maybe Radiant and like top 500, or maybe they have to do multiple tiers of Radiant like they do in other games like Rocket League, where they have multiple ranks in the highest tier rank. Not entirely sure what they're gonna do with this, because really having a player like Tens, let's say he's 638, right? And then you have a whole bunch of other Radiants that are like, I don't know, 20 on the elo scale, the Radiant elo scale that is. I can understand why sometimes Tens gets over 30-minute queues, because it's just impossible to put him in a fair match according to this rank system, unless some of these other players that are in the hundreds are also playing at the same time. Now the next thing that we gotta talk about is the absolute repulsive feeling that people are having due to Deathmatch in Valorant, and there's been post after post after post about it on the Reddit forums about people complaining about Deathmatch, and generally I kind of agree with a lot of the sentiments that most people are saying. The thing is, Deathmatch feels actually the best in the warm-up period, where people are just spawning and running and getting into rapid gunfights. It gets a lot worse when you're playing the real Deathmatch and you run into people crouching in the corner, or you spawn and get swung by an enemy. It just really doesn't feel like it's helping you at all, and it kind of just feels like it's more frustrating than anything. Now, while yes, you could just play it in a certain way that is still gonna get you some benefit, and I still suggest you play Deathmatch in its current state because it's like the best we got, but it could definitely be a lot better, and I think faster, more rapid spawns, more rapid gunfights, further away spawns, or maybe a map that is designed for a free-for-all type mode. And it would be nice if we could just drop in and drop out of games rather than playing a game that seems to have a goal with someone winning, where people want to play in a particular way that is not trying to improve them, or a way that is not trying to warm them up, but a way that is trying to win, which often includes things like camping, slow walking around the map, and things that are just not fun to deal with when you're playing freaking free-for-all. Now, definitely let me know what you think about this in the comments down below. What do you want to see out of a free-for-all mode, and how do you want it changed so that it can actually be an enjoyable experience that's going to help you warm up for your competitive games? I would love to know your feedback down below. And the last thing that we got to talk about is the new episode, of course, is going to be dropping around the 12th. It's most likely going to be dropped on the 12th of January, and we're all looking forward to that. And I've already talked about a lot of the big buffs and nerfs that are most likely going to be there. We talked about running and gunning changes. We talked about potentially a classic pistol nerf. We talked about controller buffs, at least not Omen, and the new character and all that stuff. But what I really want to focus on here is the missing quality of life changes that we really need in Valorant right now to make the game just way more enjoyable, and some really big things that we are just lacking. Now, first off, it's a replay viewer. A replay viewer is one of the most essential things in any competitive game. I don't know why a game ships without it. Being able to watch your own VODs and see what we did wrong from any person's point of view, or looking from any place on the map, is invaluable information for helping us improve. And from a creator's perspective, I would love to break down a professional match and be able to look at any given fight from any person's point of view, from the top down, break it down, and I could also do that for pro player VODs. It'd just be a great way to learn, great way to make content, and a great way for every single one of us to review our own gameplay. Now, on top of that, we also need agent-specific settings. I don't know why they haven't done this in forever. I mean, we're talking to Riot, who took forever to add a left-handed view model, but all roasting aside, we really need different binds for different agents. It shouldn't be too difficult to implement, right? Can we just get that already? And also more crosshair settings while we're at it. It would be great to have more customizable crosshair settings, maybe more colors, a color slider, and a whole bunch of different mix of crosshairs would be cool as well. The last thing that I think that all of us would really benefit from is a more in-depth custom training in game, because we want to have the custom flexibility training that we get in something like Aim Labs, but we want it with all of the actual gunplay, counter strafing, and recoil control of Valorant specifically. So having a more in-depth training room would be something that's really cool, or even a customizable training room. But if there's any big quality of life things that you want to see in the next patch, definitely let us know in the comments down below, and of course hit up any Riot devs, as I'm sure that they think your insight is as valuable as we do. But speaking of climbing, the GameLeap.com website is the best place if you want to climb the ranks with ease. We got in-depth Radiant tier VOD reviews, advanced tips and tricks, positioning, mechanical guides, and much more. Do yourself a favor, go check it out in the links down below. But that's all we got for you today. Thanks so much for coming by. I'm Coach Mills, and of course, until next time,